Hey guys, welcome back. This is Donna Sharp with Holistic Wellbeing. Thank you for joining me here on another beautiful and gorgeous day. I could not resist. I really needed to come outside, grab some sun, and just soak in some of the greenery. As you can see, the birds are all flying behind me, so I'm very, very excited about that. So I do pray and trust. Let me just first start by saying that your family is all doing wonderful and they're staying safe and protected, and you guys are following the proper safety measures to make sure that you're remaining in the safe zone, because as you know, there is a very loud gate here, so we're gonna have to bypass this somehow. So there, as you know, there's a lot that's going on. Hi Wanda, thank you for joining, welcome. And I'm just gonna encourage you guys to really be obedient and try not to just do your own thing. I see so many people still doing their own thing and they're feeling like they're invincible and they can just overcome anything. Guys, let me tell you something. You cannot play with Mother Nature, all right? And that's what a lot of people try to do, and unfortunately, God has a different plan than man does. So be very safe and be very conscientious about not just yourself, but the people that are around you, especially when you go out into public settings. All right, you guys know what to do. I don't have to repeat it. All I can say is just keep your eyes on God and just keep in prayer, because there's a saying in Jamaica, when man a plan, God a wipe out. Or no, when God a plan, man a wipe out, right? So God oversees everything, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. So today what I'm going to speak to with you guys on is the 10% rule. Yesterday I spoke on interest. As you know, I'm speaking from this book, The 3 Steps to a Strong Family by Linda and Richard Eary, and it's forwarded by Stephen Covey. And Stephen Covey has some great reads. So if you have not read any of his book and you're trying to get in a mode where you're organizing yourself, Stephen Covey is the man. All right. So last night I spoke with you guys, and as you know, just a premise from everything, if you're just joining me for the first time, it's to basically teach children how to take care of their finances, how to manage themselves before they get to an older age. So last night I spoke on the benefits of understanding how interests work when it comes to purchasing. Maybe they decided they want to get a credit card and just go crazy and not realize that they have to make sure that they follow proper discipline and habits to make sure they're not going ahead of themselves and creating more debt for themselves, so to speak, right? So I'm going to talk to you this evening about the 10% rule, and you guys probably know where I'm going with that. If you are a believer in Christ, you know that a lot of the churches require 10% to give to the Lord. It's not 10% you're giving to the pastor. It's not 10% you're giving to the committee members. It's 10% you're giving to the Lord. And here's the thing. You don't worry about what's happening with that 10% when you give it. Just give your 10%, because whatever happens after you pass it along is going to be up to the ministry and the funds that you gave. So you do your part, because God wants to see how well you're obedient. And so the 10% rule is that's one of the biggest places right now you'll find that obedience that God wants us to do is in the churches, right? So here's the deal. Children, first of all, they're not only children are automatic when it comes to savings. You have to help them to develop some form of a habit. And then you also have to understand that they're not instinctive savers. I don't know how annoying this gate is going to be, but I'm not going to be long. They're not instinctive savers. So you're going to have to encourage them on doing the right thing, right? Pretty much guide them. And everything that we've been talking about the past 2 weeks, it follows right in line with that. The second thing is establishing that 10% earn of anything is definitely important. Hi, Apostle. I saw you pop up there. Welcome. So getting in the practice of that 10% is a very important thing. So now you're understanding the point where my business in general, a lot of people talk about mind, body, soul. It's this cliche that everybody uses, right? Well, the focus of my holistic practice is spirit first, mind, body, because I feel that if you have a belief in Christ, or whoever your believer is, mine is Christ, then you're going to follow, everything is going to follow suit in your life accordingly the way it should. Nothing ever is going to line up if you're not following the right order. And so when you teach your children about the 10% giving back to the Lord, now you can get into the practice of teaching them the habits of of saving, the habits of why is it important to give 10%? Why is it important to set 10% aside? And then they'll become accustomed to that. So later on in life, as they're going through, they won't necessarily feel like it's a burdensome thing. But again, it's a discipline thing. It's an obedience thing, right? So what do we know? Children cannot easily be convinced to give up the money that they earn. Whenever they earn their funds, for them, they say, this is the money that I've earned. Why am I going to give it up and do this? Or why am I going to purchase that? But they always think that mommy and daddy's money grew on tree. Now, when they earn their own funds, then it's a whole different ball game, because now they have to take their own money and spend it on things that they know they wanted, right? Maybe they didn't necessarily need it, but they want it. So now they have to get into the habit of, oh my goodness, I have to pull out of my own pocket to get those things that I want. That's what mommy and daddy was going through. So they don't like to separate themselves from the money. Now, but what children who develop this habit, what basically happens is that they're guaranteed for enabling themselves for a good financial future. Because again, when you create those habits and those disciplines and you're obedient and all of these things are falling in line, then you see that some things in life are just easy. I have people several times that may ask me, Donna, how do you stay in the healthy zone for so long? And I have to tell them, I can't explain it to you. Number one, I'm self-disciplined. Number two, I can't necessarily, well, I guess I can in some regards. I spoke on having a strong why, and when you have a strong why, it really allows you to create those habits that you're supposed to create, because you know that you have an ultimate destination, right? An arrival point of something that you're trying to accomplish in your life. So it definitely guarantees them a very, very strong future. Now, I want to share a story with you from the book. And incidentally, I'm just naturally self-disciplined. I know that if I do certain things, I'm going to net the results that I want. And for me, it's not about inorganic foods. It's not about pesticides consumption. So there's just a list of things I just don't believe in. And so because of that, because of my strong belief, it allows me to stay disciplined and stay obedient most of the time, because I know how it will ultimately allow me to feel if I don't stay on the track that I'm supposed to stay on, right? So here's a story that he speaks about in this book, and I'm not going to read it verbatim. I just took some notes down on it, and I wanted to share that with you. Here's a young couple that was in the church, right? Young couple in church. They're struggling, young graduates, and they found it very, very difficult to do what the church was asking them to do, and that was tithe, all right? Because what they were doing is, as they're getting their money and their finances, it comes in, and they realized there wasn't much money there to do what they needed to do that they thought. So how is it that we're going to put our money aside and tithe? So what they did was they decided, how about we just owe the church, and then whatever interest is, maybe there's interest that we can pay on top of that and pay the church back on tithing later on, after they felt that they overcame some of the concerns and things that they had going on. But here's the thing. Sometimes you don't know how long your deficit is going to last. And would you want to just short the Lord because you're feeling like you're in a crunch right now, and we're going to short God because we're going to see if it's going to get better next time? It may never get better. And like the same on the reverse side, when you find people that maybe develop a lot of money, they come into riches, they win the lottery, all those things that you're not supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be keeping your own money in your pocket, not gambling. But they ultimately get all of that money, and what happens? Moments later, the money is gone, because there's no discipline that was organized to get things on track and set things for their future, right? So in that regards, when they spent all the money they had, they probably never tithed it anyway. And then now it comes down to now where the rubber meets the road, and they're wondering, man, we should have given some to the church. Well, now it's too late, because you don't have all that money anymore. And you may not be earning. You're back to the square one where this young couple is, and you're saying again, we're gonna just hold off, and we're not gonna pay God right now. We just wait, right? Meanwhile, you're blocking your blessings. So they felt like they could defer the money, add interest on it, pay the church later on. But I want to read some more on here, because I just found that to be a very interesting little story. And this is where their heart actually ended up falling, because they felt really guilty after thinking this way. And so Linda and her husband sat down one evening to discuss the situation, realized that tithing was something we believed in, and we were committed to it. We decided that living on 90% of what we earned was just as easy as living on 100%. It was just a question of what we were planning on, where we set our limits. Then we became a little upset with ourselves for having considered compromising, almost as a form of penance, decided to go to the other direction. We committed ourselves to paying an additional 10% into an investment account for ourselves every month at the same time we paid our tithe, reasoning that the difference between 90% and 80% was just a question of attitude. It was the most important financial decision we have ever made. We stuck with the commitment during the last 2 years of graduate school, saved $2,500, enough for the down payment on our home, a house that is now worth nearly 5 times what we paid for it. So in the end, God blessed them, because they became obedient, and they recognized that what is 10% of the money I'm getting is the same as 100%. You're not going to miss that small amount you're pulling out. It's a savings piece, right? So in this regards, as I'm speaking about this today, I'm focusing on the children, how you want to prepare your children for these particular obediences, right? And here are some things that we spoke about the past couple of days, is teaching your children how to utilize the PEG system. When you have chores around the house, you want everyone to accomplish the things that they need to accomplish. You get a PEG system, so when they accomplish a goal, they can stick that PEG in. There is that gratification that, oh my gosh, I just accomplished a task that my parent gave me, and they didn't even have to force me to do it. Remember, there was some kind of attachment to that, and that was the point of the financial attachment, because payday comes, you pay them, you teach them how the whole interest process works, which I spoke on last night, and then today you teach them on the 10%. By giving that 10%, you're going to ultimately get blessed in the long run, right? So encourage them from that payday system that you generate at home with them to start saving 10% from the start. Because when you start from the beginning, you don't have to worry about meeting them midway. And then by then they've established some form of a habit, and it's hard for them to break them out of it, right? So place 10% in a separate column on that chart. Remember, I showed you last night about having them have a chart, 3 different columns, right? And the column, though, that you're having them save in is the middle column, and that's the one where you want them to deposit only in and never ever withdraw from. That is only a deposit column. No withdrawal goes into that amount, and that is the investment and the 10% column, right? So treat it as separate funds for investing that they can't withdraw from, and encourage them to set aside some also for charity, for church, because again, when they get accustomed to doing these things automatically, it's just going to be like second nature for them. They're not even going to think about it. Now, the only thing I want to encourage you on not doing is, please make sure you don't force them to do it. They have to freely be able to do this on their own. Look at those beautiful birds behind me. Aren't they beautiful? Oh my gosh. And there goes that obnoxious gate again. So don't force them to do anything they don't want to do. They're making their own money. I want you to also understand that that is their money. It's not yours to plan for them. What you're doing is guiding them, because as you're guiding them, they're ultimately going to make the decision, right? And trust me, in the future, if they did not make the right decision, they're going to see how it's going to affect them down the line. And they may pull themselves out of it, right, and find ways around it, but they're going to realize at some point, 5 years ago when mom and dad say to do this, I should have listened then. So that is their money, though. Emphasize that it is their money that they've earned. It's theirs to do whatever they wish. And also give them that freedom that they need to continue planning for themselves. But explain that save money, it basically equals growth, right? And what a better time to talk about this than now, because right now, I don't know if you see these food banks that are lined up in Florida, in South Florida. And they also showed one in South Africa. I believe it's South Africa. The lines 2 miles, 3 miles long of people wanting food, right? Now, I'm not saying that they're in a position where they could have saved money in a different country like that. Different environments, different things. But in the U.S., chances may be a little bit greater. So if it's not for just speaking about the benefits of this for your child, I'm going to encourage you as adults to make sure that you're doing the same, and you should be learning a big lesson from everything that's going on right now. So many people are worried, oh my goodness, I can't take this lockdown anymore. I'm tired, I'm this. Guys, every single thing that happens in our life is for an ultimate reason. There is a purpose that God has for us. I don't know if you see it now, you may see it later on, But I want to encourage you that a lot of the things that I speak on, it's not necessarily just for children, it's for adults, because we have adults right now that have never developed those practices, and they are where they are right now. So take heed as you're teaching them, learn at the same time, right? But the ultimate thing is to also teach them is that you want to make sure they take that money right off the top. If that money goes into your bank account and they start to spend it, forget it. It should come directly out of their account where they don't see it. And remember, you're doing that money management system at home where you're having that account book. And in the account book, you want to make sure in that middle column, that's where they're going to place all their deposits. All right. So in summary, an account book, you find a separate for two investments and savings. Distinguish them by creating your columns only for deposits, no withdrawals, right? And also, the only difference is the investment account has only deposit in the middle column, which is what I just spoke about. So I want to read one last thing to you. This I'm going to read because I want to make sure that you guys you're getting clarity as I conclude with this particular subject, all right? So I'm going to read this to you. Here we go. Ready? Children will not use the investment capital until they buy a savings certificate or stock or bond or begin to pay for college. Set up your interest or bonus so that the investment column earns more than the regular account. If your regular interest is 3% per quarter, think of paying 5% on the investment account. Or if you opt for a similar bonus of $3 for every $100 at the end of the quarter, go to the $5 for the money in the investment account. Let your children put as much of their money as they want to in the investment account so long as they understand that they won't take it out except for investment. All right? It's there for a reason. It's there for a rainy day. So they're sure to make mistakes along the way, over investing at any one point, under investing at another, but the lesson they learn will stay with them for the rest of their lives. So guys, listen, you know, a lot of times there's systems set up in place for many of us to take heed to and follow. The question is, are you following those systems? Because sometimes we make things much harder on ourselves than life intends it to be. And when we are obedient and disciplined, and we sometimes delay that gratification for another date, we find out that things often can become a little bit easier for us in the whole spectrum of things. So I'm going to encourage you, take the lesson that I shared tonight on taking that 10% off the top, give it to the Lord, and let the Lord do what he finds best with it. Chances are you're going to double your money that you probably going to get from somewhere that you never thought. You're going to wonder where it even came from, because that's how God works, right? So I do pray that this was beneficial to you. Please take this live, share it with someone else in your family or friends that you feel can benefit from this. By all means, love the live. I don't know why they have that thumb finger. I think it's so impersonal. If you can't avoid the thumb finger, I understand. But aside from that, make sure you're commenting on my live. I don't see a whole lot of interaction. Yes, people see things and they hear it and they digest it. But my question to you is, how much of it are you actually placing into action, right? So I'm going to encourage you to comment. If you watch the live later on, I'm going to encourage you to please type replay after you've watched the entire live, so that I can see that you actually saw and heard the information and the content that was in here. All right. But beyond that, I'll be back again here tomorrow to share some additional interesting tips with you. I am very, very grateful for all of your support. After all, this is only the 489th day that I've been speaking continuously since January 1st of 2019. But my prayer is that the words that I've spoken and the messages that I've taught, the lessons that I've shared, is something that you were able to take and add some form of value to your life, because that's one thing to me right now that means the most than anything else in this entire world. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for just protecting your family and remaining safe. And if there's someone that's in need of your services or your help or whatever it is, just do me a favor and just help them. Just take a day, take a week, and find how many people you can actually help and support in the process. You will see how much more your blessings will come back to you. So Damon, thank you so much. You just joined the live and I'm leaving, Damon. Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. I'll see you guys back again here tomorrow to share not this loud gate with you, but some additional fantastic insights again from the same concept from this book, How to Create a Strong Family. So I love you guys, and I'll see you guys back again here tomorrow. Take care. Ciao.